All right, welcome back. We are live. I am talking today about our buyers back, and I'd love to have this conversation as a little bit of back and forth. If you're not joining live and you're watching this on replay, still feel free to leave comments in the comment section. I'll do my best to get back to you, but a topic that I think is really timely right now is, is buyer demand back? Is demand on the uptick? And what I can tell you from my own data, from my mortgage team, it's doing stuff nationwide, other mortgage professionals I'm talking to nationwide, definitely see an uptick in demand and applications and all things that are forward looking, right? When there's an uptick in applications and demand, it's forward looking on stuff that's going to close next month and the month after. And then locally to Sacramento, I had conversations yesterday. I walked through open houses, had agents tell me, we got 2 offers on this listing this morning, still holding it open, talking to buyers who might be interested in making a last minute offer or maybe offering on something else. But it looks like this one's going to go into contract after sitting for 2 months. No action. Now they got a couple offers. Another listing down the street in East Sacramento. Yeah, we've got an offer on that one too, after it kind of sitting for a little bit. So my personal business, more applications, more client conversations, more demand, talking to local real estate agents, more offers coming in, more stuff going into contract, more demand. What does that mean for the average person in the market? I think that's probably the question. And it's really hard to generalize and talk generalities across real estate all over the country. But what I can tell you is that if you're in a market that has seen some softening, most of them have, between last summer and the first of the year, if you looked at those 2 points, like median sale price or something like that, a lot of markets are down. A lot of markets are down 5, 10, 15% from the, what some might call the peak. Sometime in Q2 or Q3 of last year, maybe even Q1 in some markets. But what does it mean if some demand comes back into the market? What does it mean if rates continue to trickle down? Last week, we saw the lowest interest rates in 4 months. And I think that that is something that people might overlook, but it has a really big impact on demand. And the problem we're going to see in 2023, in my opinion, is that increased demand is going to have more of an effect than it normally would in a normal market with more supply. We are really constrained on supply. There's just not enough homes for sale. There's not enough people listing their homes for sale. What's up, Sandy from San Diego? Let me know how things are going there. I know that I represented quite a few buyers in the San Diego area over the last year or so. Man, it was difficult for the buyers that I helped in 2021. I think it was a little less difficult in 2023. Let me know if you've got any local knowledge, anything specific that you're seeing about real estate, how long it's staying on the market. Something I will say about demand and all these different things that we're looking at in real estate, it's definitely price point specific. When I say that demand is back, stuff is going into contract, and I think that it's going to be competitive to a certain degree, not the ultra competitive of 20 and 21. It might never be like that ever again. But I just talked to a listing agent this morning, come to think of it, and he's sending out a multiple counter offer. Got multiple offers on a property. What I believe is going to happen there, right, where the multiple counters and it's a little bit competitive, it's not necessarily going to happen at the higher price points. If you've got something for 1.5 million, 2 million, that market is incredibly soft. You've got negotiating room, mostly because sellers are unrealistic and see that their neighbor sold at 1.7 and want to list theirs at 1.7. Good agent comes around and says, in this market, in this interest rate environment, you're gonna have to price it at 1.495 to get this thing to move. And you might want to consider an offer at 1.4, 1.45. If you list at 1.7, the thing will just sit and there'll be crickets. If 1.7 is luxury in your market, some markets, the San Diego area, the Bay Area, some parts of Los Angeles, 1.7 might be an entry-level home, right? But in areas like mine, where entry level's 400 to 600, move up is 700 to a million, and then above a million maybe considered luxury. The luxury stuff is for sure going to sit, and I think average days on market probably, if it hasn't already passed 100 days, it's going to pass 100 days. Those things sit. Our construction loan should close in May. Any idea what interest rates may look like then? Well, if you look at the 30-year fixed rate today, I'm going to do my best to guess, but know that part of it is just a guess. 30-year fixed mortgage news data, I think they were like at 6.05 or something the end of last week. I'm looking it up just to be sure. 6.07, 6.09, whatever the heck it is. A little bit higher than 6% on a 30-year fixed rate mortgage, depending on your credit score, depending on how many points you pay, depending on a bunch of stuff, right? It's just a rough estimate. If I were to guess, Sandy, I would say slightly lower than today. And so I would never count on it being sub 5%, but I also wouldn't imagine any scenario where it's going to be above 6.5. If I were to guess a range, I would guess 5.75 to 6% on a 30-year fix. And again, if you're putting 40% down, it's going to be a different price than if you're putting 3% down. If you got a 675 credit score, it's different than if you got a 760, but just roughly a quarter lower than today, if I were to guess. That's what I think is going to happen. I think inflation numbers are going to continue to trend down. Mortgage rates will continue to trend down. Some people who are super bullish about that and interest rates coming down think that we'll be near 5% by the end of Q2. And so May, June, near 5%. That's a pretty aggressive stance, but it could happen, right? So that's on the bright side of things. I can't really foresee. I mean, I guess there could be some economic factors that could have interest rates tick back up. I just don't know what they would be, right? Which you never do. Things happen. You're like, oh, I didn't predict Brexit happening, or I didn't predict wars overseas happening. I didn't predict, inflation spiraling out of control. Some of these things you just don't know before they happen, but I don't see a scenario where interest rates go real high real quick. And, May is only 4 months away. Thank you, San Diego man. At first it was Sandy Go Man, but then San Diego Man 66 makes more sense. So yeah, thanks for watching, man. Appreciate you. What are HELOCs looking like? Well, Julie, there's a lot of HELOCs out there. I think that a lot of people have equity. A lot of people are trying to tap into their equity. So tons of companies have jumped into this space and created home equity lines of credit products. The honest truth is, as a mortgage broker, I've got some outlets for it, and I've plugged my clients into a couple different lenders I work with that provide fixed rate home equity lines of credit. And some people really want a fixed rate, even if it's higher. I've seen some really aggressive pricing from local credit unions, specifically one that I used to work for. Man, I'm getting older. If I worked for them back in 1999, but I worked for a credit union 24 years ago. One of my first jobs I wore a tie at, and those credit unions have really sharp pricing, but it's a adjustable rate, right? So they might have a 5.49 or 5.99. That looks really good versus a 9 or 9.5% fixed rate home equity line of credit. But again, it's adjustable, and not everyone's down for that risk. So that's what I'm seeing. But there's plenty of options. I think if you've got good credit, good income, good equity position, there's gonna be no shortage of home equity lines of credits out there. It'll just be a matter of finding one that works best for you. If you have a relationship long-standing with a small bank or credit union, I'd probably start there. And that's my best bit of advice. I will preach all day, every day to go talk to a mortgage broker if you're getting a conventional loan, an FHA loan, a VA loan, a lot of conventional types lending. Home equity lines of credit, I think you start with a small bank or credit union. I didn't forget you, Kevin. Good to see you tuning in from Lakeland, Florida. I appreciate you, brother. Thanks for tuning in. What do we got? Keep the questions coming, guys. I think I'm going to cut it short. It's a holiday. Shout out to Martin Luther King. And I won't, go on too wide of a tangent about that. But we all know how important he was and his legacy. Probably going to be on here for 30 minutes. So fire away with your questions. Fast and furious. I always try to answer them all. And I think if you've got mortgage questions in general, getting real-time feedback that's honest is great. Sometimes if you search for something on the internet, the info might be outdated. Somebody might just not know and guess. And, the best is when you ask a question that should be answered by a professional, and you get Uncle Louie and Aunt Sue and everybody else on the interwebs answering them. So real, true, honest mortgage feedback live on the interwebs. Fire away. So the possibility of a 1.2 mil going for 950 million isn't too far fetched. Sat counting in over 100 days in the market. I mean, that might be a stretch, Eric. If it's been on for 100 days, here's what you got to find out, Eric. And here's where like a really good quality real estate agent is worth their weight in gold. They can call the list agent and dig for info. Because I'll give you two scenarios. I'll give you two scenarios where, you can get that house for $1 million, no problem. Like that person already bought a new build in San Antonio. And they got a bridge loan to make it happen. They did all these things, and they're paying 11% on the bridge loan. And they need this money really bad. Like they have to sell. And the clock is ticking, and every day they don't sell, it costs them more money. Taxes and insurance on the current property, the interest on the bridge loan, all those things is literally like just pushing them to sell. Then maybe you've got something listed at 1.2 even if there's comps at 1.1, 1.15, they might entertain you at $1 million. Then there's another scenario where that person's listed at 1.2 million. They don't have to sell. Like if they don't sell for 1.15, they literally won't sell it, and they'll tell their agent that. They'll tell their agent to tell buyers that. There's a lot of that going on, I think, Eric. And feel free to shoot me a message. Let me see, what's the best place? I mean, why not? Just shoot it to matt@mtmg.com and let me know the address. I'm just curious, and then what agent you're working with. But it's going to be contingent on the property for sure. Where it might be that their neighbors have sold for 1.3, 1.35. They lowered the price to 1.2, and there's no way they're going any lower. Or their neighbors sold for 1.1, and they're in some fantasy land listing at 1.2. There's so much that goes into it that's hard. It's like there's no one size fits all, one shoe fits all. I don't know. If the glove don't fit, you got to quit. I don't know where I'm going with this, but I think, yeah, it's worth looking into. And before you go out there and get your hopes up, a great agent can dig the info out of the sell side. I know. I'll give you an example, Eric. Real life Sacramento County, listed for 1.7. I knew it was overpriced. Agent knew it was overpriced. Buyer was stubborn for whatever reason. It expired with that agent. I think it was only a 3-month thing. Maybe it was 6 months. Maybe they tried for 6 months. I remember talking to the agent and saying, hey, show them these numbers where even if somebody paid 1.4, they'd be paying a higher mortgage than somebody bought it for 1.7 back in February. So 1.7 sounds nice, but like it's a $2,600 a month jump from what somebody would have paid for it if they bought it at a lower interest rate in February. New agent comes along, probably has a come to Jesus with the seller and says, do you really need to sell, want to sell? And the seller says, yes, I need to. They go, okay, we're going on at 1.4. It went on at 1.4 and sold within 6 days. And so that's a scenario where at the 1.7, like you would have been like home run. I got it for $300K below list. Once it comes on at 1.4, it's priced aggressively. It's sold within 6 days, and it probably sold for what some would deem as list price, right? No discount. So when it came on at 1.4, there was no way it was selling at 1.2. But that was because it was now priced aggressively. If it's been at 1.2 for the whole 100 days it's been listed, it hasn't sold, then it's not priced aggressively. We can just know that, right? Most HELOCs won't have a penalty to pay off early. You can pay it off as early as you want. And the way those HELOCs will work is you'll have a line of credit for 100 grand. If you pay it off, you can go out 2 months from now and say, hey, I got to take 20,000 out of the line of credit and go buy this, and then continue to make payments again. But certainly no early payoff, prepayment penalties. Raymond Cisneros, thanks for joining, brother. Good to have you here. If buying a primary residence with a built-in ADU to satisfy the 1-year owner occupancy, can we reside in the ADU and rent the main house, or do we have to occupy the main house? That's a great question. Truth be told, when you buy a house as an owner-occupied residence, you sign, it's your intention to reside in that house for 1 year. Things change. You might buy it and a month later decide, I'm going to move into the ADU and I'm going to Airbnb the main house. Trying not to step in any doo-doo, get myself in trouble, but I can't imagine any lender that you'd have any issue with if you still live there, but you lived in the ADU and rented out the front house. I'd love some advice. I know loan officers listen to this. So if you're a loan officer and you're listening to this, feel free to tell me, nah, man, you're wrong. I don't think lenders would have issue with that. I really don't. Sal, man, but thank you for joining. Appreciate the question. I went to my local bank that I have my checking savings account with to check the maximum I get for a mortgage. They said I could take out 840. That's down from 1.2 million since 6 weeks ago. That sounds like a banking problem. If we've got lower rates than we did 6 weeks ago, your approval would only go up. But it is possible that this bank has tightened their guidelines. Remember, bank, credit union, direct lender, mortgage broker, all the hundreds of wholesale mortgage companies out there that brokers are brokering to, they get to make their own rules, where even though Fannie and Freddie, the entities that are buying these conventional loans, even though they allow something, or even though FHA guidelines allow something, doesn't mean that the lender has to abide by it. They might say, well, the minimum credit score on the FHA is a 500, but we're not going to take any buyers below 620. Or on a conventional loan, you could go down to 620, but we're only going to take people 660 and above. They do that to mitigate risk. And so my guess is that this bank changed something about their overlays. Overlay meaning we want this credit score, we want this debt to income ratio, we want this, whatever the case may be, they got more strict. Where you got me was you said you went to your bank for a mortgage. In 2023, it's just super clear. The bank isn't the best place for a mortgage. I was going to retract that. Remember, this is live, guys. So it's as my thoughts are stirring in my head, I'm just talking out loud. There's probably some products where you might do okay going to your bank. Maybe you're a private client. Maybe you got a sweet jumbo loan at your bank. I don't know. But in general, for the vast majority of people, an old, antiquated system, old, antiquated underwriting that's more strict than the normal, that's not the spot. So I would just say my best advice to you, Sam, is go get approved with a mortgage broker. You can go to greatmortgagebroker.com. It's going to connect you with somebody on my personal team. Fill out the quick form, tell us where you're at, how we can help, and we'll be in touch. And know that as far as flexibility, optionality, all those things, Great Mortgage Broker is where you're going to find the best of both worlds. So take a look. Yeah, 140K base salary, 250 for down payment. It shouldn't have gone down in the last 6 weeks. I can tell you that much. And just quick math, right? $12,000 a month in salary, $250,000 down, depending on what county you're in, and depending on if it's a conventional loan or a jumbo. You can put 20% down on $1 million property and still be in a conforming loan in some counties, in some high balance counties. And I can't imagine. Well, let's do this. Why guess? And this is tough to do because it's really gonna vary a lot. State to state, county by county, different tax rates, all that other stuff. But just for S&Gs, otherwise known as shits and giggles, let's say you're buying a place in California for $1 million. You're putting 20% down, so you got 800,000. If we're trying to keep your front end ratio, Salmon, below 40%, meaning your mortgage is less than 40% of your take home pay, gross pay. Let's call your pay 12 grand a month. Let's multiply it by 40%, so that's 4,800. To keep your payment under 4,800, if you're in California, you got $1,000 a month property taxes. Yeah, if they ever told you 1.2, and this is the problem with doing this, right? Is 840 probably 20% down gets you that. If you put 25% down, you're definitely under that 4,800 a month range. The things we don't know is like, if 140 is your base, how much can we use in overtime? All of these things are the reason why, if you're going to buy a house in the foreseeable future, even if you're 6 or 9 months out, like some conversations I had this morning, talk to somebody, go to greatmortgagebroker.com, get yourself pre-approved, because then it's no more guessing. It's just like, for sure we have your application. We've taken a look at your 140 base, plus some of the bonus, plus some, other parts of your income we can use. Sometimes people have restricted stock units or something that we're adding to the income, but whatever the case may be, like, there's no reason to guess. And I had a guy talk to me this morning, and it's like, I don't want to waste your time. Surely not wasting our time. We've got a great support staff. We want to help people. So we want to give you accurate answers that truly add value. And some of the guessing really doesn't benefit anybody. I got people come across all the time. They're like, listen, I just want to do a soft pull, and let me give you some information, and you tell me, am I pre-approved? It doesn't really help you at all, because I'm guessing, right? If you tell me I make $8,000 a month, I've got $262 a month in revolving debt that will show up on my credit report, and looking to buy a $350,000 house, and I've got 3.5% down. Can I do it? I mean, no matter what I tell you, yes or no, it holds no weight until you actually get pre-approved. Your true credit is pulled, and it's plugged into an automated underwriting system that says, yep, all good, feel free to write offers. Or what it might say, which I could never learn through telepathy or any other means, is there's this derogatory ding on the credit. There's this debt we didn't know about. The ratios are this. You're not going to qualify. And so the worst thing is somebody gets pre-approved with somebody who's going off of, what they think or what somebody said, or maybe half-assing the pre-approval and not doing a credit pull because they're more expensive now, not, collecting the docs or doing a verification of employment. Then you get in a situation that really stinks. In contract, looking to buy at $350. Oh, whoops. 2 weeks later, find out you can't. Well, the inspections you paid $500 for, poof, money gone. The appraisal you paid $550 for, poof, money gone. Your dream of this home, unless you can find a way to add a co-bar or do something else, could be gone. So you definitely want to do a full-fledged pre-approval and have a correct answer. Tamika L, hello. I'm glad you caught the live too. I let everybody know I'm cutting it short, so I'm going to give you 2 minutes. Fire away all the questions you can. I will rapid fire answer the best I can. I'm going to start doing too is I'm going to start pulling questions that people ask in the YouTube comments. That is, when the live is done and gone and been recorded and days old. That way, people that have questions, if you're watching this on the replay, I can answer those as well. I know that I dig through those YouTube comments whenever I can. I'm trying to pluck out what people are asking. I've got a bunch of people asking about assumable loans. Promise you I'll get a video out on that. I might even, get somebody who's a true expert at assumable loans to pop in and help me really do a good job of answering questions on assumable loans. But fire away your questions. Thanks for joining. I appreciate you guys. Inessa, thanks for joining. Hope all is well with you. I got to run. I got family plans, but I appreciate you guys. Keep firing the questions away. I'll check the YouTube comments. I'll answer whatever I can when I can. Thanks, guys. Have a great week. Bye-bye.